Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to another fantastic episode of Stories Around Azeroth, where I don't mute myself on the intro. As always, I am Pete Titans-Green Nevercoat, and joined by a gnome who is enjoying a in-game celebration with items the same size of himself. One Mr. Frazley-tastic.
Hey! And I decided to ham it up today.
For those of you watching, listening to the podcast and not watching the video, he's stuffing his face full of ham. Even more.
It's so good.
It's so good. Yum, 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 yum. Man, he has no professional tenure, does he? Eating ham. Eating on a live podcast.
I gotta ham it up. I'm sorry. I can't resist.
Clearly. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Today our family zoomed it up, so we went zoom. Our meals here via video conference. If you watch Disney Channel, then you'll get that. If you didn't, it was zoomed over your head.
I don't watch Disney Channel. Or use Zoom.
Oh, you missed Xenon. Oh,
or use Zoom. I don't use Zoom after the incident, Frazley.
I don't believe. I can't mention anything about that.
Yeah, you can. It's fine. After the incident, yes, that's how we call it. Have you had a good week, sir?
Oh, it's been a great week, and especially as I am blown away. Whoever at Blizzard gave me a little treat this week. I thank you. I didn't do anything. I didn't bribe anybody. I didn't bribe anybody. I didn't put any 20s in anybody's pockets. But thank you to whoever got me into the Shadowlands Alpha. I'm just like, wow. Because I restarted my launcher, and I was like, install. And I've already gotten, and I feel bad. The people who have told me that they're jealous. The people who I've already gotten the death threats. No death threats, thankfully. But
Jesus.
But no, I've been having a great week and all that. Just hanging out on Twitch. Got the Vulpira up to 112, and I was going to be playing more of the Vulpira on Thursday, but I decided to go into the Alpha for a little bit and just really see how it was. I think of like 3 of 5 or 6 of storylines in Bastion. I completed the new player scenario up to the Dire Maul Citadel.
Let's talk about the Shadowlands Alpha as it was. Yeah, you're in it. I'm
Yeah.
not. So let's talk about our first introductions from the 2 different perspectives, because there's obviously going to be from the outside looking in and reading WoWhead and catching streams, and there's someone who's actually played it. Now, obviously, we should say that it doesn't include the actual the story getting into Bastion. That doesn't exist on there yet for good reason. Although I think a lot of it's been data mined over on WoWhead. But I mean, the first thing you noticed straight off the bat, and a lot of people did, was there's a new quest marker rather than just being an orange one for the main campaign.
Yeah, that whatever story is like. I think it's because this one was the Bastion campaign, but whatever's the main thing in your zone, not just a side story, has a new rectangular model. And in fact, it was cool. I had Taliewen, who was in chat looking at it to be, and they were concerned about like the colorblind nature of it, and from what we could see, it'll also be good accessibility for people who are colorblind. But it really says, hey, this is an important quest to do, and I had like a side quest to do, so I was able to differentiate between the 2, and I enjoyed that because it was nice knowing what do I need to do to continue the story, and what can I kind of put to the side right now, and maybe do some side quests.
Well, that's pretty good. But I mean, how did the layout feel of like the area when you got there?
So far it feels good. I'm still confused because I don't exactly know where I am. Like I don't know the storyline of it. I'm trying to ignore some of like what's the story in the area, and I don't want to get too involved. But it seems nice.
The architecture of the buildings to me looks like it's a more toned down color palette of the warrior class hall from Legion, like in terms of architecture.
I'd say that, and also some of the night elf architecture. It looks like especially in like Azuna, it seems like it's a more regal version of that. But yeah, it's definitely not as bright. And that was actually something that I was talking with my friend Sunday night and Harlow about how we feel there's almost a sense of this is light, but yet it still feels death.
Right.
And it was a very interesting use of that color palette.
Okay. I mean, I guess each area, because we haven't seen anything outside of Bastion and
No.
level 83, 53 just yet. But I'm going to assume at this point that Bastion's going to have its light blues and its yellows. Ardenweald is going to be very green, very on par with Val'sharah. And I picked the one point of your stream for feedback for the week where your stream died momentarily.
Oh, yes.
And like Revendreth's going to be very red, very black. And then we're going to have the last area, which my brain eludes me at this point. But yeah, it's the one that's based on Naxxramas, which will probably be very green, very grey. You know.
One thing that I remember when I was looking at the concept art of the different areas when they unveiled it was how every area feels like a different part of WoW, but also an exploration of the different cultures' view of death. And I find this because death is something that a lot of us think about, and it's interesting that they're choosing to explore this in terms of what do people in Azeroth feel about death. What happens when you die? And I think you said a while back this is going to be a very interesting expansion to see. They're going to make decisions here that, unless they retcon later on, are going to have major impacts on how we view story.
Yeah. The problem is that when it comes to all the different aspects of Azeroth and their view of death, I think we're really going to be missing out. I can see what you're saying, and but I feel like it's not going to explain everything.
No, and it shouldn't. You should always have something that you're wondering more about.
Yeah, something a bit more ambiguous. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I fault the Matrix for finishing the storyline in the last two movies. Because then at the end of the Matrix, you feel like there's nothing really there. But and a good story should have mystery.
Yeah, I mean, how we'll talk about the starting zone.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you feel that in terms of an entry for a newer player?
I thought it was very good, and I was reading over the article you sent me from Valrisha on the forums about feedback leveling 1 to 150, and I agree with him that it felt like if I tried to put myself in the mindset of a new player. If I was playing this new, and I liked that when I logged in, it said, okay, here's how you move around the game. And whenever there was a thing that needed to be doing in the interface, it said in bright big colors, here's your inventory, here's what you do. It's explained things that even when I returned to WoW at the end of Warlords,
yep,
I was confused about for a while. If I'd had this, I think it would have been a little bit easier for me to get into the game. And I like how when you're going through, get it.
The closest I think we have right now is the 110 player, what's it called? The player template, where it teaches you how to play a class and everything else. And then
it felt like that, but then I feel like this even more. It also had me. The story drew me in, and I was reading a little bit of the story, and I even had a section of the story that showed the humor of WoW, because WoW can have its playful quests, and this one it goes out in a ridiculous way, like in WoW stuff, and I definitely want. There's a buff that you get after helping a certain character. I was like, I wish this could be a potion I could buy and just keep applying to myself.
Is this something that you find later on the island then?
Yeah, from one of the enemies, and then they buff you for a while, and like you move really fast. I'm like, oh, this would be awesome. But
okay,
like I got a priest quest to teach you how to resurrect. Yeah,
so there's stuff that's also been mentioned elsewhere, like the post I mentioned, like because this is obviously tailored to your class. Some things teach you about certain things, like there's one for paladins where you have to use your bubble in order to learn.
Nice, so, just like the order hall quests, where you have to like either blink or I had to use the demonic gateway on one quest in Legion.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
In itself. But yeah.
How
have you found, because you've obviously been reporting every bug you found,
Yes.
as evidenced by your stream. How are you finding? Because I think this is one of the first alphas you've been in from like day one, isn't it? So
Yeah.
how have you found it?
It feels pretty full featured. Like I see the areas where they've introduced systems, and either I had some Lua errors, especially in the new player area, but it seems very well done, especially with what we've seen. And you can tell that they waited until they were here, but it feels like I played the demo at BlizzCon, so it feels like the demo just expanded. Like I've got more time, but also they didn't start me off. They started me off sooner than they even did on the Legion on the demo at BlizzCon. Like I was started off. I know the exact quest I was doing where they started me off there, but it feels good. Like I've run into a couple quests, like there's a forge and the meter's too high for me to, like, I had no clue what was going on. So I reported that, but I can see that they're working on it. I have not gotten far enough in to know how like the in-game content works. And I've seen people discussing like the leveling. I've seen people discuss they had like some crashing issues in the dungeon that comes on Bastion. So there's things that I have not seen yet, and like whatever the in-game systems are that are not in the game yet, I've not seen those. I've not seen it far enough to know more than just Bastion. And I liked what you said on Frazlcast about how this is still new shiny.
Yeah,
we want to see how does it last after this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about what we talked about on Frazlcast because a lot of people can go there and actually see the discussion we had over the hour, 2 hours, I can't remember.
About an hour.
Because there was a lot of good things that were said from both yourself, me, and Sai from Scrubs versus the World that we talked about and everything else. But yeah, we have to remember that. Yeah, everything looks really cool. There's a lot of good stuff there, but we have to temper the enthusiasm because there's still a lot more to do, and the leveling experience is going to be something that we're going to see, and it's going to be really cool for the first time we see it. But it's going to be the end game stuff that we're going to be logging on to play. Those of us that aren't just going to go straight back into the next character to level, you know.
Yeah, and And one thing we did not talk about there, but I did bring it up later on in the show when I was doing my solo area, was the tweet by Russ Peterson, who works at Blizzard, saying that the best feedback to give is not just a solution to a problem that you can't explain, but like, here's how it made me feel. Here's why I didn't like this. And I've been enjoying the feedback. Like, again, this Valrisha, they were going to, like, they were talking about problems that they can see and why it feels that. And as a player, what I saw in alpha seems good. I didn't see anything that made me feel bad. I do like that there's a confusion button there that if you're confused, explain why you feel confused. And I've been definitely clicking that, being like, when I don't know where to go and I can't easily see it. And I don't even know if we talked about the quest marker on Frazlcast. That's one thing that I think
we didn't.
That it surprised me too. It surprised me that it showed
the
even areas
where you've got to go to. Do you mean, or like?
Yeah, because when I was playing, and if I was far enough away from the area I need to be in, it would actually pop up, not directly in your face, but you had to look for it. But there you would see this little diamond that you would have to go to say, hey, you're this far away. And
I honestly hope that there's an option to turn that off, because
I believe there is. If I was looking in my settings, because I was trying to turn on auto loot, because it turned off auto loot, and when I disconnected, the game did not save, and it turned off auto loot. So I had to.
This is the thing. Whenever you set up anything, and this goes to retail as well. If you don't log off manually, then like a hard crash will reset all of your settings. So
I have never done that because I did have one disconnect on the server, and funny thing is I did a rage moment because I wanted to be like,
I did see that. There's a lot there. Have you done anything else in terms? You've mentioned your level in your Volpyria. What level have you got to this week?
112. So I'm going to go in, and I was actually going to go in tonight, but then somebody was like, "Hey, do you want to play Elite Dangerous?" Like, sure, because it was like $15. But I'm hoping to go in because now I got to balance. I want to level, but I do want to go into the alpha some more and test some stuff out.
Are you going to try and get some of the other content creators that you know and see maybe you can get going and have a look at the dungeon?
Ooh, that would be nice. I have to see who's on it because
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and Blizzard, can you open up to more people in the alpha? That is the one So here, I don't know if we talked about this on Frazlcast, but I don't get why they close it off so much. Maybe they don't want too much feedback in the beginning, but it's weird that they close it off.
So from my memory and the way it works, it can be a couple of reasons. One, it's a hype builder. There's definitely a FOMO thing that'll go on there, same as there was with Classic WoW, because how there was like few people in, but like there was a lot of people in, but there still wasn't as many as what people were expecting. So it could be that. It could be part of it being a server load test to see if it can actually contain the amount of people that's on there, and it does it easily without the server crashing and everything else. Because you've got to remember, there's only like 2 servers, I think, that's up for alpha. 1 PvP and 1 PvE. So
though on that one, both of them said normal. So I don't think that there's specifically. I think maybe they just did that one just so that they could also try battle grouping.
There's that as well. There's a few reasons, but it's probably just going to be something to keep the influx of information that goes back to Blizzard, like, more condensed.
Yeah, because like I have a perspective on the game, but one thing that's missing is things like your perspective. Like there's things that will go over my head and not just gnome height, but I won't see the deep details of what you're saying, and that's why I've been trying to look at information that other people have been saying on feedback, and I'm like, oh, I did not even think about that part of it. I saw what I as a player want to see and need to see, but I didn't see all the higher end stuff, and I didn't even realize that you could level from 10 to 50. In my mind, I thought it was saying that the new content was the new play experience and stuff. I've not gotten past the new play experience because of no one was queued up for the dungeon.
I imagine that might be different now. I think day one was going to be everybody was then going to be in the new area, and there'd be less people in the starting zone. But that might have changed by now because people are leveling and everything else, as you can clearly see. But again, it's something else that you can poke other people that that are in there for to do, and like have like the community stuff set up and be like, let's go do a thing.
Just don't poke without consent.
That's it. So, me, what have I been up to this week? Well,
yes, we haven't even talked about it here.
Well, the biggest thing I've done this week is, for those of you that are long-time viewers of myself and Frazley's talking nonsense, Mr. Frazley laid down a bet for me in one of his streams where it was just like, I think I only had like 13 or 14 max level characters at this point, but it was just like, if I did Dragon Soul on 18 characters, max level characters in one raid lockout, and Ultraxin didn't drop, I would win a bet.
Yes.
And so I set aside a whole day where I went absolutely loopy. It was about 4.5 hours running Dragon Soul on 18 different characters. And the mount still didn't drop, so I'm sad off that. But, yeah, Dragon Soul's not a fun instance, guys.
I still need to learn the Soul Aspire. I know there's a tutorial. I just got to get in there and work on it because I have not farmed all the stuff in Ultraxian.
I need to do more than past Ultraxian just to get the little transmog helms and bits and pieces. But, that's been it. Otherwise, I've been leveling a lot this week. I have been leveling my Void Elf Monk, is what I've been up to.
And was it you who just got your heritage armor for gnomes?
I got my heritage armor on my gnome last week.
Oh, it's Raz, owner of the Raz Turtle emote, who just got the heritage armor for gnomes. Okay.
But,
I gotta keep all my gnomes straight.
It's been real weird this week, because obviously this week's time walking as well. But, I mean, if there's a big difference between using party sync to level with your friends and then using time walking this week. And time walking's been real weird because cataclysm stuff is different at the best of times, but I mean, between a level of difficulty, people thinking they could just tank it, like just grab it and AoE everything down, and people just not knowing the dungeons. It's been pretty weird this week. But I'm not sure if it's because I can walk in on my Demon Hunter and just like literally murder everything. But I've tried healing on the monk. I've tried tanking on the monk. Monk tanking is weird because it's real built around eye level. So if you don't have the eye level, you're going to do not a lot. And there we go. Yeah, it's just like healing. Healing's interesting, but it's very intensive on the monk, I found. And then for like the last
Did you see how
30 levels, I think, today, I just went Windwalker for the last, like yesterday and today, and just got it to 120.
I'm just gonna do Legion to finish off this time walking on my Volpira, because the time walking from I'm not having good luck. Well, you also saw that I went over that bridge.
Oh, that was funny.
That
was literally so very funny when you just jumped off the side.
It was a bridge. I was like, okay, the bridge I can get. Yeah. Oh, the bridge is out. Ah!
But I feel like it'll be better when Mists ones come around. The Mist ones are a little bit better tuned in terms of heroic for time walking. But
yeah, Mist has interesting mechanics, like, and especially the two mobs that you have to kind of work on at a time and also the one where you have to get rid of the hateful essence. Because I did that one on just a regular leveling on my Volpira, and I forgot about some of those other things, and I got yelled at by the party. I was like, "Oh, it was just me."
I'm trying to think of what dungeon you're talking about.
Shadowpan Monastery.
Oh, that thing. Right? Yeah. Okay. They're easy dungeons, though. That's the thing. But
okay.
I mean, we're not going to get Mist time walking for like 4 more weeks, and the XP buff, if it doesn't get extended, runs out in 8 days on the 20th. For those of you not listening to the live cast.
Oh,
so,
I'm gonna miss that.
I'll be honest with you, I'll miss the buff, but if it doesn't stick around, I won't be unhappy, because then I might actually play the game instead of just leveling everything. I'm literally down to like 3 races left to level on Alliance side now, which is my Kultirian Shaman, my Dark Iron Warrior, and my Mecha Gnome Mage.
And what we have left once we get to the Shadowlands at 9.0, when we have the new leveling experience, you won't have any more characters to level.
I don't care. I mean, I might do some more Demon Hunters. It really depends on how Covenants are going to work. Because there's a rumor going around that we might... It looks like they might be removing the restrictions in Shadowlands with the only one Demon Hunter per server.
Oh, wow. So then you could be like this Mephisto with the Warriors, and you could be like all 50 characters on one account.
I wouldn't do that, but I'd have one for each Covenant. But
okay.
Yeah. I think the biggest talk that's come from the Shadowlands Alpha in terms of leveling is the mounted stuff. Like, from the look of it now, people think that we shouldn't have 60% riding and we shouldn't have 150% flying. So it should just go into... You get the 100% mount speed once you're out of the... Yeah, I'm referring to the post that I linked you earlier. That we should have the 100% ground mount once we get to level 10. We should have the 280% flyer once we're level 25. And I believe option of 310 at 35. Which it doesn't sound too bad. But it also, at the moment, it looks like on the alpha, the Pathfinder is still a thing as well.
Oh, I can... No, actually, no, I can't, because I agree with Valrisha's point on the Pathfinder. It feels weird if you can fly in certain areas in the experience, but you can't. I get Pathfinder for the latest expansion, the high level zones. I get it. It doesn't feel great. Do I love that? That's my big focus halfway through the expansion. No, but when you're leveling up, it would be nice if you could get flying in BFA, because there are parts of BFA that get much easier.
I don't disagree with the ability to get flying at level 25. You know, that's halfway through the experience.
Absolutely. I don't like locking away BFA flying until you get Pathfinder.
I think they should change Pathfinder. I think Pathfinder should remain in the current expansion as it is. But I think that you should still finish an expansion, before you have the ability to buy it, but then it becomes an account wide, like Pathfinder as it was. You've bought Pathfinder because you've cleared the expansion.
But then we're talking about flying at 25, and if you haven't finished an expansion, then you can't fly at 25.
For a new player, though, I mean, a new player will still have to level through the BFA experience before they do anything. Yeah. So, in terms of the BFA leveling experience, so you're going to have what everybody else had. They have to stick to the ground. But once they get to 50, they're not going to have finished all of the leveling zone anyway. If you take a look back at the post I sent you, they said they did all of 2 zones because apparently it's a linear quest chain in Shadowlands now as well for BFA. So you have to do Tirisgard Sound, then Drostvar, and it ends in Stormsong Valley, I believe is what they said. But they didn't finish all of Stormsong. They only got 4 out of 7 chapters, and they were level 50. And
oh wow! So they took away the option to choose which one you go to.
Yeah,
I did not catch that.
So they've mentioned that. So it's not a horrible thing, but they've also mentioned that they've taken away the level gated exploration to the other continent and just dumped it all at one point. That you do all 3 straight away in one lump.
Which I can see waiting until later on, because it felt weird being like, I gotta finish here, but at the same time I got to go explore. So
I just think that getting to finishing the very beginning main story should be your reward for getting Pathfinder. Not doing what Pathfinder is now, but you keep the big Pathfinder for what it is now for the current expansion. So when they eventually roll Shadowlands as your expansion, you can choose if that's the way they're going to go past Shadowlands.
Yeah.
Then you roll into the fact that you've got to finish the main story, which, as we know at this point, is the first 4 areas.
Then, okay, I can see your point there. Northrend aside, because when you go to Northrend, as we said, there are areas you got to fly in Northrend.
Well, this is also the other problem there as well. Is you got to remember that Cataclysm zones were also built with flying in mind, because Deepholm specifically is a pain in the ass to do anything if you don't have flying. You can do Highjow without flying. You can do Uldum without flying, and you can do. You definitely can do Vashir without flying.
Yeah.
So that's 3 out of the 5 zones. What were the other? Oh, and you can do the Twilight Highlands without flying. Flying just makes it a lot easier. But Deepholm specifically, you do need flying for. And I don't think there are taxis for all the quest points.
One thing I do realize now that I have flying in BFA, I don't take as much time to look at all the different routes to get around places. The world seems smaller once you can fly, so I can see enjoying that. Like when I'm in Classic, the world is bigger than I can just fly over. How many times I fly over Arathi Highlands to get to Hillsbrad and the Arathi Highlands? I mean, I can understand locking away flying, and the fact that we are talking about the other expansions. New players won't be able to do those until they complete the main story, so they're not going to know what flying is like until they beat BFA.
I think there has to be. I don't know. Maybe you buy flying for the expansion you're in, because you're still not going to have. You're still going to have flying locked away at your expansion gate anyway for when you're at Shadowlands. So maybe when you have to buy flying at 25, then you get access to the Pathfinder there. People are still going to be restricted on the floor for 15 levels.
Yeah, and I agree with Rig that Pathfinder and Warlords needs to finally be unlocked for everybody. The flying. I still see the Pathfinder achievement being there to give you an extra mount, something to work toward. But you don't need that. Does not unlock flying anymore. That just unlocks the really cool mount that you get.
Yeah, I guess.
Especially if you're playing Warlords as already having beat BFA. and like, because once you buy flying, you don't have to buy like when they took away cold weather flying.
I mean,
you don't have to buy flying for different places.
The easiest way to get around the rep problem is just to go to Net Jungle and just farm the rares for the medallions, and then just use the medallions for rep.
From my experience when I was doing that, you had a lot of high level players that were farming them for the tokens and so on the auction house, so they could fly anywhere. And by the time I saw one was up, I was like, I could not get there fast enough because they were just taking them all down. Maybe it's different with the levels changes, but that's why I went to getting a wild token. I did it. I bought a wild token for warlords. I'm not ashamed. And I paid the price.
I don't know. There has to be some change, I guess, because at this moment in time, anybody that's going to be a new player that's going to enter into Shadowlands content is essentially going to be gated off from previous content. And I'm not about that life where I'm going to turn around and say a player shouldn't be penalised because they weren't playing the game at that current level of content. Hell, there's people that are playing in BFA now at the end of BFA's expansion that don't have Pathfinder. You know, I mean, yeah. I was just flying through. I was flying through Drostvar, just picking up the chests on my monk today, and there was just someone in general that says, "Anyone with flying?" And I was just like, "Yes." Why wouldn't I have it? Because
it's weird for me because ever since I came back to WoW, Pathfinder's been the thing. I got it in Legion. I was like, I gotta have it. It's my focus whenever a Pathfinder comes think of that. I do whatever I can to get it, but maybe that's my playstyle because I'm not raiding, I'm not doing other stuff, so I can spend that time doing all the reps and stuff, and I make it my goal. I'm zooming toward that.
I don't know. I think there has to be a compromise, and I'm not ashamed to say that for older expansions, as long as they finish the main quest chapters in each of the zones for that expansion, then that gives you Pathfinder for that. You know? And that's an account-wide achievement, you know?
I say abolish the rep stuff, especially, again, abolish the old rep stuff. Abolish the Legion rep requirements. Abolish...
As I've said before, if the devs go out of their way to make sure that completing the actual quests gets you to Revered... Like, you finish every quest in that zone, you get to Revered. I think that's fair enough for everybody, because Revered should be the point, not Exalted. Revered should be the point that you need for any rep. You know?
Yeah, and by doing all that stuff, you should be revered. That you can be exalted by doing extra things like the world quests and dailies, but they revere you because you've helped them with all the stuff in their quests. You're not just honored with them, but no, you've gone above and beyond. You completed that lore master for that zone.
I think that's the better way to do it, is to have, like, if Blizzard's mindset is play the game, get rewarded, that's fine. I appreciate that mindset. It's not a bad thing, and it's how I've managed to get my Death Knight to get like several rank 3 essences. You know, I played the game on the Death Knight and I've got it. I feel better for it. It's used a lot of my time to do so, but I've done it super casually. Just done a couple of Mythic Pluses, done my emissaries every day, or like once every 3 days for all 3 boxes, and I've done the odd Horrific Vision, and I've got enough to get an essence, which you can get like 1 a week, and that's not horrible. But if they want to reward people for playing the game, just tie it to getting the quests done in each area. I think that's more than fair, you know?
Over in Desolus, I completed a quest line for centaurs, and by doing it, both centaurs made me exalted. I didn't have to hand them ham and meat over and over and over again. No. I just did the quest, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh wow, I'm exalted, and that felt good.
I also feel like getting Explorer for a given continent should give you access to use your flight whistle in that zone.
Yes, oh yes. Because that would almost be like the attuning in Final Fantasy XIV. I thought I did not play enough of Heaven's Word to know the full attuning, so I could be wrong, but I remember you had to go in there, do some quests.
To explore, basically.
Yeah.
They changed it for how So Heaven's Ward wasn't tied to... There was a lot more tied to quests in Stormblood than there were Heaven's Ward, and then you just had to do exploration to get the last few. But it was mostly exploration in Heaven's Ward, with some...
And not
quests. Yeah. But it's... that game works differently because each area is its own map, essentially. So you load into a different map. Whereas, essentially, if you did it for... because the way the map system works is every map's on like a server chunk, so that's why you can't fly into the Ghostlands from the Eastern Plaguelands, because it's on a different server chunk, and it's why you can't fly in Silvermoon, because it exists on a TBC thing which doesn't have flying enabled. I think we're past the time where the flight whistle is such an amenity that it should just exist, you know?
Oh yeah, I think it'd be great to have it in all of the zones. That just because it's nice. I even find it's nice when I'm currently, if I just need a quick break somewhere, I need to go somewhere, flight whistle to get out of danger, be out of those mobs, and then I can fly back.
Because I mean, it would make it, especially if they changed the flight whistle to be account wide as well.
Yes,
because the flight whistle is more useful when you can't fly. And
yeah,
it's really used in any main expansion content until they give you Pathfinder Part 2.
And
yeah.
We already have account-wide things to help with like flying, like the books that you can get for the main continents, the BFA flight whistle, or not flight whistle, but the flight item that you can send to alts.
Yeah.
So we already have things to help with it. So it's not like it's so even if we had an item in Shadowlands that said, hey, by doing this, here's a flight whistle that I've earned to my character, I choose to send it to it, because then it doesn't make it where you're forced on your alts to do it, because there are people who like their alts being separate. I'm not one of those. I like
no. Everybody plays the game separately.
Yeah, and
ways.
And whenever people have talked about account-wide stuff, Blizzard's always talked about the people that want each character separate. I'm like, okay, then give us the choice. If you want it separate, here you go. But if you're like me and you want it, you want to benefit from your alts in your main, then give us the choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I feel like they've got a lot of options. I mean, unless the expansion after Shadowlands, they're looking at revamping the world again,
which would be cool.
It would be cool,
a lot of work.
And it's a long time past where it's needed. You know, I'm gonna bring it up again. The fact that the fact that they revamped the world after 6 years, and we've had a Cataclysm world for over 10, about 10 years now. And
if we're looking at how long it would take to do the revamp world, then give us chunks. Like every patch you get, like say our thing that we talked about.
I said this when I was talking about how they could do a Infinite Dragonflight expansion. Like it just we come back off Shadowlands and we're locked to one side of the world, and then the patch content brings in the rest of that world.
Which would be nice, because then you could test the content in between the patches. So whenever a main patch goes, instantly PTRs up with the next zone content for people to test out, while also playing it on the main one. That way, who doesn't want to be Burning Edge can have it. But yeah, I think, and then leaving the old content. This is where we're getting crazy, but like leave the old content here so we can go back and get all the old things, but then add in all the new stuff, like having a revamped zone, because we can play with the same way we have the Outlands in two parallel versions.
I think you have to look at it as a way that you can step between the two worlds. And I mean, if they were going to do that, I think they'd have to change the Caverns of Time into the hub for that expansion. And
I think it would be great, because then you could have access to the old raids, or if you, and you can still go through those. But I would love that more Caverns of Time. I think that area needs more love and more attention, because I love the concept of time travel. I love exploring stuff. And then you know what? We could then also go back even further to Warcraft 3, Warcraft 2, and Warcraft 1. We could go back in time to other scenarios, and you wouldn't have to build up a whole thing. You make a scenario, you make a dungeon. I think it brings up a lot of cool options.
I think there's a lot they could do with an Infinite Dragonflight expansion. There's so much in the world that they could do, like where they could just turn around and go, well, what if you didn't? what if the Alliance didn't, or the Horde didn't sort out the Scarlet Monastery, you know?
Yeah.
And Balnazar from Strathom pushed the Scarlets from... They took over all of Strathom, cleansed it themselves, had Strathom to themselves, and they eventually pushed through and cleared out Lordaeron from the Forsaken, and you've got to deal with the Scarlets in all of the northeast, the Eastern Kingdoms, like... you know, they can just do little pockets of different scenarios, and I think it could be a very lore-rich game with lots of content they could put in. But
yeah.
Instead of thinking about what could be, we should be talking about what is.
Oh yes. That's one thing about us is we can think about hypotheticals.
Right, yeah, that's a big thing. Character customization.
Yes.
There's been a big thing that they talked about with Shadowlands at BlizzCon, and it's a big thing that's coming in to there's a lot of customization posts now. A lot of the customization stuff isn't available on the alpha yet, but it is like WoWhead have gone and found a lot of stuff that's available on the alpha and just stuck it into different posts on WoWhead.
And there's also a WoWhead Shadowlands dressing room, and I went in there. Of course, I looked at what gnomes are, and if all this stuff comes into the game, there are some really cool options for gnomes. I think you can really diversify the population, and then we all won't look like we're the same model running around town. People will be able to feel represented in the game. I know there's been a lot of backlash, and if you're one of the people that are mad at all the customizations, well then, you. I'm sorry. I've seen too many Twitter posts.
Are there people that are actually mad at all the different customizations?
Oh yes, a lot of people online are mad. I'm like, and those people, you. I'm sorry, but don't get mad at people being able to be represented in the game. But yeah, there's a lot of good things in this game.
People shouldn't be mad at the fact that there's extra customizations coming. It's what people have asked for the longest time. Like it. A lot of your skin tones and everything else are going to be mostly covered by your gear transmogs anyway, and transmog has brought the most diverse looking people around. You know.
Yeah, but it's cool the amount of skin tones you can now have in the game on any type of character. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would possibly say is the eye connotations on certain races probably takes away from things on a lore perspective. But at the end of the day, I don't care that much to go around and look at each character's individual eye color already.
Yeah, know? Well, and we're looking at a WoW that when it started had model limits, had model constraints. It had constraints on what it could do. If they could have done all the eyes and skin tones back then, I think they would have. So I think it makes it a more living and breathing world that we all have different genetics. You and I have different eyes. I mean, I want lazy eyes. I mean, I want glasses. I want to go further. I want people to be able to feel like they are in real life. Because you see, I've got
you want sliders. You want sliders. We know. Unfortunately, the game is not ever going to get sliders. We know that for a fact. It would be nice, yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I was
a little upset that we couldn't have fat and skinny Cold Tyran. I love the Cold Tyran, but I also wanted a skinny Cold Tyran. I wanted a fat. I mean, just different. Because I got excited when I saw those models.
The problem exists is that they're not using existing models for any of the allied races already. Like Void Elves are just Blood Elves. And Nightborn, even though they actually had Nightborn models, they've just used Night Elf models for. You know, and Zandalari, they haven't used the Zandalari model. They've just like that they had for like Throne of Thunder and BFA. They've just used a slightly different upright troll model, and it's the same with the Mag'har. They're just upright trolls with a different skin tone, and it's slightly annoying. I mean, the Mag'har, there's not really a lot of difference for, because that's what those models were. But in terms of Zandalari and Cold Tyran and Nightfallen, you know? I mean, I think Valera's model is just an updated Blood Elf one anyway, but They just don't feel different.
Yeah. Whereas at least with these on these original races that we're seeing, I am seeing a lot of ability to customize your character in a lot of different ways. It's gonna be, I think one area that we have that'll be cool to go on will be RP servers to see how many different people change their skin colors, because
I think that's what people want, because they want with the ability to have sliders for customization, it allows people to have shorter and taller of every race. And so if I go into a raid, you know, I'm not going to be standing next to another night elf demon hunter, which is exactly the same height. I could be slightly taller or slightly shorter, you know.
I could really be the tallest gnome in Azeroth.
You could. Like, obviously there'd be some limitations on that, but that's what people want when they say they want sliders, because it does add way more customization to it. But I'm not sure if it's just the way that WoW's developed or how it works with everything else. But it comes to the point where it's model size and everything else, you know. If you have like the model sizes and the model connections are so very well defined over years that they've got better. I mean, you only have to go and look at when Classic WoW came out, about how people were like, well, my Tauren, it doesn't work the same way the Tauren does in retailers, because they changed the hitboxes on a lot of these things way back when. And I think if they turn around and they go, every male Kultiran and every female Kultiran has this given hitbox, but if they choose a skinny version of that, it completely breaks everything. And I think I think that's a lot of the reason why we don't have sliders, because it's too much. It's too much for the actual game framework to take because of how old the game is. If the game had come out 5-10 years ago when sliders were the norm, would we have possibly had it? Maybe, but would it take away from the aesthetic that Warcraft has? You gotta remember, like, people play this because Final Fantasy 14 looks like it's a game with its models look like it's ripped straight out of Blender. You know, it's a very different game the way it looks like. Do I prefer the customization options in Final Fantasy 14 and other games with sliders? Yes. Do I also like the fact that the armor in the games that aren't Warcraft don't look like it's like a texture on my character? Yes. Like, I would much rather them improve on what we have now, and not, when I'm wearing a chest piece in Warcraft, look like I've just attached paint to my skin.
I can see that.
Like, I'd like it to look, because if you look at it, like, you zoom in on a character after you've sorted out your fancy transmog and you've got these really high definition shoulders, and you zoom in and you see pixelated paint down your chest piece.
Wait, I've just been playing with paint recently. I like playing with paint.
Of course you do. That's why you've been making so many Noble Garden eggs, haven't you?
Yes.
You're the little goblin in the bunny ears that's been running around and dropping the little eggs around, like, starting areas, haven't you?
Well, I don't have a bunny costume, but I've been running around in my Yeti costume, and that's not chocolate eggs.
Frazley, you've got. I know you have something now, and you could literally key yourself in to be anything these days.
Oh yes, you're talking about my leopard gnome costume.
Yes, I am. Oh boy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, is there any customization stuff that you're looking forward to?
For me, not as much, but I've been privileged, and I feel like I've been represented in WoW. That, like, my skin tone has been in WoW. I'm excited though for people who want to feel represented, and the ones that I am. When I saw that, I'm excited that people can now play the character, feel the character, be the character. You can feel like you're in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this doesn't lead to a lot of in-game bullying based on the color of somebody's skin.
Oh, I hope I'm with you, because I could see that, and if you do that, please don't.
Please don't play the game.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need you if you do that.
No, it's especially in the current environment that we are in. People play games for escapism, and a sense of togetherness where you can't be together anywhere else. You don't know who's on the other side of that screen.
I've already seen people being mean to people who are Valkyra and pandas. And I'm just like, don't.
There are people that are mean to other people who have the store mounts and pets. You know, it's don't treat other people in the game if you wouldn't want to be treated that way. And I think that's a valid comment, like, for anything. Like, don't treat other people in life how you wouldn't want to get treated. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but enough about me.
I'm sorry. When I'm on that infinite time mover, Pete, I don't mean to make you jealous.
Look, I've done so much time walking the last couple of days and it still hasn't dropped. I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
And you've done more than me on time walking. Overall, I'm just like, what? The RNG in this game. What's going on? Like the first team of time fever, then the alpha. What's next? Am I gonna get someone's love rocket next year?
If you get the love rocket next year, I swear to God, I swear to whatever heavenly deity being somebody may believe in, I swear to it, you will not get that. If you get that thing before I do, I'll be... Especially with the fact I've got 19 characters at max level to do every day. Swear to me!
So this means that next year I gotta run Love Rocket as much as I can. I mean...
I'm going to have to do a stream every day where I do 19 plus Love Rocket attempts.
See, I like this. I'm encouraging you to stream. That's my secret plan I'm getting you to play this game that we love.
Indeed. I mean, you've already challenged, like, the bet for the next time is to do 18 full clears of Blackrock Foundry in a single raid reset. Which is already going to take me half an hour a run as it is. So, guys, I hope you're looking forward to a 9-hour stream sometime in the future. Because God help me. God help me.
I'm the reason Pete's going to go insane.
Oy vey. Yeah, you got any plans for the next week, Frazley? I presume it's just going to be Alpha, Valkyra leveling, and Spaz and Fraz?
Yeah, and I am going to do, once I get the Valkyra to 120, I'm going to start working on my Dwarf Freaks. I probably won't get it done before the end of the XP boost, but I want to get a healer now to 120, and that way try out some healing. And I know I'm going to suck in the beginning, but
if you're going to do healing, may I suggest that you find a good bunch of mates that want to do some leveling so that they're not going to yell at you?
Yes, and I may try out speccing as I level as a DPS.
I would honestly say that healing is quite possibly more anxious than tanking when it comes to pugs and everything else. Because if the tank does everything right and doesn't keep everything and keeps everything off everybody else's back, but the group dies because of the healer can't keep up, then the healer's going to be the one that gets blamed for it, not the tank. You know?
Yeah.
That's the real crux of the problem when it comes to the dungeon leveling stuff. And it's, again, I want to see more rolling back onto Shadowlands. I want to see if they'll actually put everything into one singular queue. It's the only thing I haven't seen that's come back off a lot of the leveling feedback right now is that. But then I think a lot of the people that are on the alpha when they level, and we can roll back to Mephisto and everything else who we had on a couple of weeks ago. Like they all say that dungeons are not the best way to level. You know, it's just go out there, quest, and AoE mobs into the floor and everything else.
Which I can see it because then you're in the world and you're exploring the world.
Yeah, but you're also dealing with other people in the world, like who may be stealing your quest mobs and everything else.
So, yeah, but yeah, you have mob tapping and stuff like that. I mean, at least in a dungeon, you don't have as much toxicity. In
the world, you don't have as much toxicity. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'd still like to see everything in one unified queue. I think it would do
yes.
I think it would do the game so much more good as one unified queue rather than the 8 different queues it's going to be next expansion.
Yeah, because then like you gotta hope that you got into the right queue for stuff. And
I also hope that they add a blue bag of goodies to every dungeon queue, because at the moment Warlords, Legion, and BFA don't have that.
Oh. And I could see that maybe. Yeah, I could say that especially for BFA and below. I mean, but yeah, I didn't even realize that they don't have those.
No, none of them do. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it sucks. It really does. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what the next couple of weeks hold. I think. I don't think there's going to be an update on the alpha. There might be a small patch, but there won't be anything new opened up on Shadowlands for at least another week and a bit, I think.
Yeah.
So it's all just going to be because a couple of weeks and then they'll open up another area. I think we'll start seeing endgame stuff towards the end of May. Is when I think we'll see things. But yeah, I think we're done for the day.
I thought it was a good show, and it's nice expanding on things that we've thought about over the weekend and the things that
I do want to point out, guys, that if you do want to go and hear more of mine and Frazley thoughts and Sai from Scrubs versus the World, if you want to hear more of our thoughts on a lot of the Shadowlands stuff, then go and listen to Frazlcast 154 when it's out.
Yep, and by the time you listen to the download, this will already be out. But if you're listening to us live, or even you did the VOD same day as the download, right?
Yes.
Then it's already out. But if you're listening live, then you'll be out in a couple hours.
Yeah, I mean, Frazley, if people want to listen to Frazlcast, or just see you in general, where can they find you around the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Frazltastic, where I'm posting puns, not as many as my Facebook. So if you want even more puns, DM me and I'll send you my Facebook link.
Oh,
you can find Frazlcast at gnome.podcast.com, where I talk to people around the Azeroth. Like this next episode, I'm actually talking with Mr. Scruffy. So I met him at BlizzCon and talked with him here and there. But I've not done, as Scruffy says, male bonding with him. So we're gonna have fun there. And if you want to see me every day doing weird stuff on Twitch, go to gnome.live. Like after this show, we're doing Elite Dangerous, and then you'll see Alpha, you'll see Retail, and once the XP boost is done, you also see me adding a few extra games. Like I got to now finish the end of Amnesia, because I can't wait till October.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you can find me on my main Twitter account at Titans Creed. You can find the gaming specific one for videos and VODs at Gaming Phoenix. Otherwise, you can catch VODs of this podcast its very self at youtube.com/Project Phoenix Productions, as well as other things. And if you want to catch me live, you can do it at twitch.tv/Project Phoenix Productions. Thank you once again, Mr. Frazley, for joining me for this week of Stories Around Azeroth on this Easter weekend.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always fun being here. Always fun hamming it up. And
so professional. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you very much for joining us, whether it be live or whether it be in VOD form. We will catch you next week. I believe we have Stone on next week for next week's episode, don't we?
That sounds right. Yes, I will say that it is. And if next week if you come here and he's not here, then blame
me. Stuff's happened.
Okay. Yes.
It's my show. I'll take the blame. It's fine.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so if you want to talk to Stone, come and join us next week. Listen to Stone. Come and join us next week, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, as Mr. Frazley always likes to say,
be awesome, and I'll even add, be awesome to each other.